This is the reason why you should buy. And we're not asking the most important question, the reason why it was important for them, in their heart of hearts. Like, that's a sale. Then we're going to see results, the mindset, going into every opportunity, saying to yourself, I would love to have the business, but I don't need the business. When they talk about building their organization just through referral, that means they're missing it. The internet almost shut down because they're like, are you blind? Do you not know what's going on out there? Do you not see what's happening?
You just hit 250,000 cold calls. Congratulations.
Oh boy. Am I excited about this show, this podcast. So happy to have you here, Gabe, the CEO of the company called Alleyoop. And what a dynamic guy we've got on the show today. And I'm your host, Cruz, with the Pipe Podcast. Of course, we talk about sales process, sales initiatives, sales prospecting, and sales experiences. And I'm here with my friend Gabe, who's the CEO again of Alleyoop. And I welcome you, Gabe. And let's just, if you're okay with this, I'd love to just jump into it and just talk a little bit about, your whole experience with Alleyoop and kind of how you became CEO. I think that's a great story, and I'd like to share at least part of that with with those that are listening and watching today as well.
Well, Crispin, you know this, and so your audience knows, I'm a huge fan of yours. We watch your stuff. We love your stuff. Our company watches your stuff. So we have a lot of fans here at the company. I know you had one of our growth directors on recently, and I was really excited to see what you guys chatted about, and really happy to be here. So thanks so much for asking me to come on.
You bet.
To your question, it's interesting. I started actually the first role here at Alleyoop. We went through a rebrand about 7 years ago. So we were a different company back then, but same business. And I was actually an SDR. So I had 10 years of experience in executive recruiting and owning a recruitment firm, and did that right out of college for 10 years. And recruitment was really my value that I brought to coming on board here, and never recruited SDRs before. So I started off as an SDR, and that was my first role, and made my mark in a short order and moved my way up. And it's been a phenomenal journey. I actually left Alleyoop. I became number 2 in the company and decided, hey, I want to try something different. So I went to a SaaS business and ran 2 software companies, and it was really exciting. And then our CEO at the time and founder asked me to come back, and he was looking to retire and spend time with his family, and so I came over and took over as CEO, and it's been great.
That's awesome. That's just a great story, and it's a testimony to the organization, because what I know about your organization is that and we can talk, and I'd love to get your take on this, because
Sure.
When you're building a company, when you're growing a company, when things are really starting to move in a company, how important is the culture? Because the culture of the organization, it would not have, you wouldn't have been drawn back to this opportunity if there wasn't, my assumption is there wasn't a good culture at Alleyoop as well. But please, share that with the listeners and the viewers today, if you wouldn't mind.
I mean, yeah, you nailed it. I mean, I have a video in there on our career page. I see your website, the website on there. If you go to look at the career page, we talk about how culture and environment and ecosystem is so valuable to us. And my philosophy, our philosophy, has always been the Richard Branson approach, which is, if you take care of your staff and if you take care of your people, they'll then take care of your clients. And a lot of companies, look, hey, the customer's always right. The customer's always right. Well, it's not always the case. We all have had customers who we thought were wrong, but the reality is that we look at it as we're in the people business. Our service, our commodity, our offering is people, literally. And so if you take care of your staff and you take care of your people, they'll then do the right things for your clients. And that's always been our philosophy. We do surveys, every quarter with our teams for years, and we do anonymous surveys. And the number one question we always like to ask is, what do you like about working at Alleyoop? And resounding response. Over 90% is the people that they get to work with when they work here. And so we love hearing that. And I think that is definitely a reason why we have a culture that thrives and grows.
Yeah. Success, you talk about it just in that moment, success breeds success. And
Sure.
and I think like-minded people within an organization is super important, especially when you're looking for those that are looking to advance and to grow the company. And that sort of like-mindedness is always welcome, right? And then you've got those that are sometimes that you bring into the organization that what I call at-leasters. And a lot of times when Sales Arbiter comes in to talk with, sales teams and sales management, we try to find those individuals that are doing just enough to get by, but not doing enough to really be successful in their role. So has that ever happened at Alleyoop? And how do you manage that, with when you're trying to add good people to the environment that you've already built there?
Yeah, for sure. So we're fanatical about the vetting and interview process to attract people into our business.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if these numbers are impressive, but I think they are. We have over 400 people applying to our company every month.
Wow.
And we hire much less that number.
Yeah.
And we take them through a really unique interview process to find that out. I always like to say in all of our interviews is, hey, listen, we're not looking to motivate people. We're looking for motivated people.
That's
So
great.
give us an example that would, yield an example that would be a proof that you are a motivated person. And that's how we look at it. We also want to make sure, what makes people tick and what makes them excited. So as a sales agency, spiffs and bonuses and commissions and, incentives are obviously important to put people on a path to succeed. So we actually survey again our employees to find out how do you want to get comp? Like, how do you want to get a bonus? And sometimes people say, I want a free day of PTO. Sometimes they say, I want to be able to be eligible to buy a big screen television. Maybe it's, they want to put more money in a down payment for their home. So we determine what motivates them. Even with a big sales team like ours, we can still customize what excites them, and then we can give and reward accordingly. So I think that helps figure out, where our team wants to go by asking those questions.
That's just great. It's just great. I mean, because what a lot of these small business owners, medium-sized businesses, I mean, large enterprise businesses, they don't. Maybe it's not that they don't know. It's just that they forget. And what sometimes they forget is you can't do this on your own. I mean, it takes a village, right? and especially when you're growing at such a rapid rate. And I know that you've experienced some incredible growth at Alleyoop over these past what 5 years, the past 7 years that you've kind of been at the helm of the ship, right? And so let's talk about that. Like, let's talk about some of those experiences that you've had as you're growing the organization and some challenges that you'd like to, communicate at least to those that are listening and watching today.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it is it's unique. We really like promoting within, and we look at that first and see, okay, do we have someone here that one can take it over now, or we can mold, train, and coach to eventually then take it over. If we don't have them, because again, any rapidly growing company doesn't have every single person to promote within every part of the business. So then we go seek and find out people who are really good at what they do. I have a lot of faults, and I definitely am not great at a lot of things, but I'm also self-aware of that. So I know what I'm great at. I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm horrible at. So what our intention is, again, another world-renowned leader, Steve Jobs, is we look for people like he did that are better and smarter at doing something that you may not be able to do. So I'm bad at some things. So I try to hire great people who tell me what it is we should be doing for this specific part of the business. And I think when it comes to growing, you have to be humble enough to know, hey, you're going to need to find some people that you can't do it, and they're going to do it better than you and get out of their way.
Right.
And on the other side is, hey, you may be really good at this, so go in there, get into the trenches, roll up your sleeves, do it, show someone else how to do it, and then inspect what you expect when they're running the show on your behalf eventually. So that's how we've been able to build and sustain and then accelerate growth in that philosophy.
Yeah, that's great. That is great. And you're absolutely right. And so, but it takes that level of humility. I mean,
Yeah.
and Gabe, I mean, why? Help me with this one, because I can't figure it out. Okay. But why is it so hard for individuals to, when they look in that mirror, and especially those that are in leadership positions with Fortune 500 companies that I've worked with before, and you have too, right? Why is it so hard for them to say, hey, listen, here are 2 or 3 of my weaknesses that I know that I'm not great at, that I know I'm not good at, that I know I need more strength within my team or my organization? Why is it so hard for them to come up with those when being self-reflective, if you want to call it that?
Yeah, I think I mean, people have a lot of chips on their shoulders sometimes, and it's maybe even youthfulness creates an arrogance. I will say I was definitely not ready to be a CEO of this company 15 years ago.
Right.
I had to get punched in the face a few times, and in sales, we're pretty responsive to what people say to us, right? We're going to get hit with a lot more no's than yeses, and I think the ones who respond accordingly and know how to, like a brain surgeon would take surgery, how to surgically understand why someone is saying no to you and be fanatical about that.
That's right.
And then learning from it, that creates that adaptability, and that creates that way of, okay, self-reflection, what do I really need to do here to make this a yes? And
Yeah.
if you just do that over and over and over again, it kind of creates a callousness of knowing what to do when you don't know how to do something, or knowing how to solve a problem when someone keeps telling you no. And I think that comes with just time, experience, and falling flat in your face a few times.
You're so right. You're so right. All right, let's put it. I could talk to you about this all day, because these
Sure.
are things that we talk about with every single one of our clients. I mean,
Yeah.
and you obviously have gone through it. You've had the experience, which is great. And I know that our listeners or viewers are getting a lot of value out of this. So let's talk now. Let's pivot to Alleyoop. Okay. The company's been growing like crazy. You've been leading the charge. You're at the helm of the ship. And you've got a great team behind you. But let's talk about some of the things that are happening there. What are some of the changes that have occurred in your space, and more specifically, like, how are you helping clients as well?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm glad you brought up the team, because being at the helm is one thing, but having team around you to operate it with you is really the real main reason why this is working well and successfully growing. For those who don't know, Alleyoop is a sales development agency or a prospecting agency. So companies come to us when they need to fill a specific function, which was called SDR, sales development rep. We're not just setting meetings. That's not a North Star for us only. It, of course, is a result, but it is also a piece of what we do. So setting meetings is very important, but we also qualify and create warm leads and nurtured leads. And we show the entire prospecting channel and pipeline for clients so they can act upon that and turn those leads into hopefully new business. One of the big things we have done, which is just instead of our flagship, which is a fully managed sales development function, we have actually broken our programs into multiple programs. And the way in which clients can look at it is like t-shirt sizes, right? It's based on their growth track, or where they're looking in the stage of their business. If they're a founder-led sales company, or someone who is looking to really start their business up for the first time, our fully managed program makes the most sense. If they are a company that is, doing well, already have operation in place for this role and function, we can plug into their model and execute amazing SDRs and plug into their program. We call it plug and play. And then we also, what's unique is our reps are hireable. So SDRs can actually convert from us to our client, grow their career, and their clients can grow their in-house team. And it's very unique to us. And it's because, we want, again, a win-win scenario, right? We want our clients to grow their business. We obviously don't want to lose their business. And on the flip side, we want our SDRs to grow their career if that's a choice they want to do. And it really is a win-win scenario. And we've been able to do that successfully. And it's again, not many companies do that. And we're happy to say that we do.
That's really great. That's really great. Now, listen, Gabe, in full transparency, okay? I'm getting emails every day, right? I'm getting emails from this company that says, I can get you 10 appointments and grow your business by hundreds of thousands of dollars. You know, give me a call. It normally says hi, and then there's no name there. It says hi with a parentheses of name. and then it goes into their pitch, right? They don't even know who I am, right? But I'm getting email after email outreach. I'm getting tagged on LinkedIn with all these companies that are promising to get me, you know, leads and opportunities and all of these things, right? So I know some of these, and not taking anything away from these countries. I know some of them are coming from Singapore. I know some of them are coming from, you know, from lots of other countries as well, not US based, right? India. And they're promising me the world, that they can grow my business tenfold, right?
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about the differences, like what's different with Alleyoop, and how do you really make an impact for those, you know, small, medium, and even enterprise sized companies?
Absolutely. Well, I think the biggest detriment that has happened in the sales space, which is also, of course, parlayed into our industry with all these other companies doing that, is automation. And do we use automation? Sure. Do we double down, triple down on it? No. I think our biggest differentiator is automation is completely watered down, and in many cases ruined the entire sales profession based on how you can look at it. We humanize the sales experience. Our reps are real. We're not using AI bots to execute emails automation. We're not just an email only company. By the way, 90% of the agencies that attempt to do what you do that you're talking about are just sending out cold emails, and that's all that they do.
That's right.
We're a multi-channel, multifaceted approach. Our SDRs are highly experienced and vetted, and they're running all the different channels, and we customize it specifically to the client. You know, maybe voice notes on LinkedIn is the best way to resonate. Maybe email is a good way, but it's becoming more and more of less of that. Phone calls, people are saying, hey, phone is back. Well, listen, phone never left the Alleyoop. You know, phone is the number one weapon for us in our arsenal. 91% of the meetings we book are through the phone. We make 7 million phone calls a year as a company. We're on track to do 10 million this year. And so now, are all of those one silver bullet? No, we use a recipe of outbound and inbound to manage what is custom for that specific client. And I think that's a biggest differentiator. But to your point, there's over 2,000 lead gen agencies out there. It's like restaurants, like it's a very low barrier of entry to start a lead gen firm. If you can make a hamburger, you can start a restaurant, right? So they go in and out of business each and every day, and that's fine. I love competition, but there's really 2 to 4 companies out there like an Alleyoop that have been as big as we are and have stood the test of time. And we can point to and say, yeah, they know what they're doing. So the difference makers are very, very few. The pool is very, very big. And so you just have to vet that out.
Yeah, you're so right. And I love what you said. The phone is back. Well, guess what? It never really left, right? Because and I'm sure like there's some of the listeners or viewers out there today. They're like, wait a second. He's talking about cold calling and prospecting. Wait a second. He's talking about real calls going to real people, you know, and I saw the article pop up on LinkedIn that cold calling is dead. Wait a second. Wait, what is this guy talking about? Right. But isn't it really about that the tool that you can use to have the level of engagement with an individual to try and understand, are they in their buy cycle or are they not in their buy cycle? Talk a little bit about that with our viewers as well.
Yeah, exactly. So everything we do in our attempt to contact a prospect, so all those other channels I was telling you, is all about to warm up a phone call or to get a phone call established. And then once that phone call happens, that's where the rubber meets the road. That's the fastest, most effective way to not only qualify and engage a prospect, but to really determine whether or not this makes sense to move to the next step. And so if you had to pinpoint, what is Alleyoop the best at? And the Alleyoop is the best at cold calling and prospecting through the phone. Now, again, I want to be very specific that we don't just do that, but we do all the other things for that. And that is really where we find the most bang for our buck and most effective. Now, it is expensive. I'm not going to lie, like having a real human who's very vetted and knows exactly what to say and how to say it is extremely expensive when it comes to just sending out 50,000 emails at a push of a button. But the ROI and what you're getting back from it, man, it's significantly a game changer.
That's right. That's right. It's so good. I mean, another reason why you and I are so aligned when it comes to that, because, and I think Robert, we just put up one of the listeners or watchers of the podcast today. He said, he just popped, I think, so true. Phones are the #1 channel. I mean, it just is. I mean,
well, can I double down? I mean,
please.
This is a phone call. I mean, let's just be frank here. Like just because it's on video and we're seeing each other doesn't mean this is a phone call. This would have been a conference call that everyone was getting on if this technology was 5, 7, 10 years ago, right? Just we didn't have video 10 years ago, so we wouldn't be able to do this. But at the end of the day, this is an interaction between two people live, and that is really a true definition of a phone call. So here's what's interesting. All the people who say cold calling is dead, if you ask them how they sell their product, they're doing it on a live demo. And so you're selling your product and you're asking you want demos, which is really a phone call anyway, but you're not willing to start the conversation that way. To me, that doesn't make any sense.
That's right.
So that's how I look at it. This is a phone call. It's just a longer version. This is a different way of communicating, but it's still at the end of the day is two live people talking. And it's mostly how almost all, instead of product-led growth companies, which are not doing so great right now, grow their business. Why not start the conversation that way too?
That's right. Now, how do you make sure that you've got some of the best that are delivering messages for your clients? Like, I know that you have a process in place where I'm sure you vet those that actually get the opportunity. And I'll say that, like, they actually get the opportunity to work the phones for Alleyoop for a specific, client of yours. How do you do that?
Yeah, it's so I want to go back to that opportunity piece because it's a perspective, right? Working at a sales agency like ours, I know is recession proof. Now, if you're good, right? So if you're good at the role, you can work at Alleyoop for a long, long time, like myself. And the reality is, why would that be the case? Is because we have companies, clients, we see it in the industry, especially the last 3 years. One bad financial investment, one bad decision, a VC firm pulls out, a jerk CEO, right? All of those things can really completely shut down a company very quickly.
For sure.
We've had 2 clients last year, both raised tens of millions of dollars, and then both companies completely fired 99.9% of their staff within a second. And interestingly, the SDRs who worked on those campaigns for those companies all still work here today.
Oh my God.
And so when you work at an agency, you are really bulletproof from a career perspective if you're good.
Right.
Now, if you're not good, you're not going to have a job anywhere. But if you're good here, there's always something to be sold. Alleyoop's never going to not have something to sell as long as something is able to be sold. So that's a uniqueness for us and a point that I wanted to bring up to your question. How do we vet people? We go through 4 stages of an interview process. All of our new hires have to actually go through an audition, and that final audition ends with me. And if they can't go through that audition and successfully do a mock phone call scenario to the tune of being excellent, they don't even get hired. And then on the flip side, they sit on the Alleyoop campaign for a period of time before they're attached and assigned to clients. So we know that they're good enough to represent a client's brand if they can be good enough to represent our brand. So multiple series of tests and vetting that we do to ensure that our clients feel like they're getting the best rep in the world.
That's great. That's just great. And that's just again a testimony to how you're not only building your organization, but how you're building organizations for others, right? And how you're really making an impact for their companies as well. So let's talk about the outcomes, because every time I get into a consulting opportunity, every time I talk with one of our clients here with Sales Arbiter, we're always talking about, okay, I love setting up the process. I love setting up like all of the ins and outs, all of the tools that they need, sales tools, coaching, mentoring, all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, listen, the stuff's, it's got to work, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The things that we put in place have to generate, opportunity and revenue. So
Right.
let's talk about the outcomes. What are some of the organizations that you've worked with? And you don't have to name them by name, but what are some of the organizations that you've worked with where they have had like great outcomes, and maybe you can talk about like some of those outcomes for the listeners and watchers, the viewers.
Yeah, and I don't mind dropping names. I mean, a lot of them on our website, so I can
Sure,
share
go
those
ahead.
with you. Everyone knows who ZoomInfo is. We were the founding SDR team and agency to build that function day
Wow.
one, and ran that plan and program and multiple campaigns for them for 8 years before they went public. Adobe Sign, when they launched that platform, when they wanted to go after DocuSign, and they were obviously a big parent company, Adobe, but a new software that they've never sold before. We helped launch that solution. Orem is an amazing dialer technology. It does parallel dialing, and we were their first SDR. And by the way, they've hired our SDRs that now lead some of their divisions at that company.
Wow.
Just to name a few, but the way in which we do it is unique because we really customize everything. We really act as if we're their internal team, because eventually it probably is going to be the case. You know what I mean? So they're going to bring them in eventually. So that's how we treat it. And we have benchmarks. We have certain numbers that we say we're capable of doing. But every client is a unique scenario because it depends. Again, what is the industry? What's the ICP? What's the persona? And does it make more sense to have $250 a day per rep or $100? And can we turn up email and turn down LinkedIn, and turn up LinkedIn and turn down phone? So we have volume settings like an equalizer on those channels for every client, but it also depends on their total addressable market. We use data as the decider of how active we should be going in the marketplace. But at the end of the day, here's some numbers. The Bridge report came out with last year that the average in-house SDR makes 40 outbound calls and sends 40 emails per day per rep. We do 6x that per day per rep. And again, it's tailored to the client, but it's also determined based on data and contact lists, but it's pretty significant.
That's great. That's great. I love Matthew Cobb too. He came in and said great business relationships are started on the phone. You're absolutely right, Matthew. That's absolutely right. But that is wonderful to hear, because results matter, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and here's a little bit of a challenge with the type of business that you're in. And I think I know I get blamed sometimes for being Captain Obvious, right? But one of the biggest challenges is Alleyoop could be doing their job 100% of the time, providing opportunities and leads to those small business owners, medium-sized or enterprise, organizations. But man, they're not closing business. They don't have the proper sales process. They don't have the proper sales people. They for whatever reason, the business isn't closed. You're bringing them what I would call the Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross leads. And if you haven't watched Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross, if you haven't watched that, then you better, if you're in sales, you better watch that movie. Okay. But you're bringing them the golden ticket, the golden leads, and they're people that are in their buy cycle. They're looking for those products and services right now. They're going to buy from somebody in the marketplace. But man, some of these companies, they can't close a door. How do you, or they can't close a barn door. How do you guys help with that?
Yeah, it's interesting. And by the way, one of the greatest movies, Alec, Baldwin, when he does ABC, always be closing. We talk about it a lot, right? So always be closing that meeting, always be inviting. We love it. It's interesting because we actually talk about this a lot, most recently over the last couple of years. And we are seeing this more and more than ever before. clients come to us because their AEs, their VP of sales are saying, hey, we need more meetings. The problem is we're not closing because we need more meetings. We don't have enough meetings. Okay, great. They hire Alleyoop. We come in and we solve that problem. And then all of a sudden they're exposed and they just realize because they're not closing meetings still, or not closing revenue still, excuse me. And so the reason why is not because they don't have no more meetings. There's a lot of reasons that could be the case, but they're not closing. Maybe their AEs are too junior. Maybe they're not trained up enough. Maybe they don't have the right direction or playbook. And maybe, there's a lot of things happening. And that's where we, refer to, people like yourself who know how to fix that problem.
Right.
But I will say that Alleyoop not only, fixes the meeting problem very quickly, it also creates exposure when there are other things at play that's not allowing that revenue to close. And on the flip side, from a marketing perspective, here, I'll give you a real life example. We last year had 2 clients, they're direct competitors. And everything was exactly the same, very similar companies selling the exact same stuff to the same people. We had one team booking about 20 meetings a month for client A, and then we had another team booking about 20 meetings a month for client B. So we knew both things were happening. We were doing our job.
Yeah.
Here's the distinct difference, though. Client A had 18% show up rates out of those meetings. 18 out of 20 showed up. So very high, 90% show up rate.
Right.
Client B, out of 20 meetings we would book every month, 2 or 3 would show up. Now, again, the same everything. Why would not, someone not show up to client B? Well, they go to their website. Their AEs aren't sending, meeting reminders. They're not saying, hey, I did some pre-call research. Hey, I'm looking forward to meeting you. Sometimes their AEs didn't even show up at all and the prospect's waiting for them. So how you handle the leads that are given to you, or even content, do you have a good website? Do you have, content and podcasts and thought leadership and blogs that you're supporting? So if you're not doing that stuff in the front end or the AE stuff on the back end throughout that sales journey, we can send you as many meetings as you like, but it's not the only silver bullet that's going to change the game for you. It's one piece of the puzzle.
It's so good. It's so good. Oh my gosh. All right. So, okay, now you're at the helm of the ship, right? You also are tasked, like every other CEO or president of the company, to be the visionary of the organization, right? So let's bring the future to the present, for a minute. Where does Alleyoop, where do you go from here? What excites you about the future of the company? What does that look like in your world?
Yeah, for sure. So obviously growth is what we all like as a company, but we're not going to grow and sacrifice quality. Now, could we go out and build international call centers around the world and have really much better margins than we do now? Yeah, we can do that. We like to do the Rolls-Royce Cadillac approach where it's all about quality to us, but we still want to scale. Our vision is we do want to be the biggest SDR agency in the United States. We're right now in the top 5, and so we'd like to be at the top. That is something we're excited about. But we're taking our time and doing it right to get there. On the flip side, we have 4 or 5 different things in the hopper, what I call research development, that we're testing on ourselves as we speak. But before we launch, we do that fanatically about everything we do, whether it's a new vendor, new technology, new data. We always test on ourselves as well. But we're right now in the lab, if you will, researching things to add to, not be different than we are today. We want to focus, and we know what we're good at, right? So we want to focus on that, but we want to add ancillary programs to help support that main program, and we're testing that out right now.
That's great. That's great. Thank you so much for that, Gabe. Hey, all right. Well, this is the time that we typically jump into what I call the Sales Arbiter 7. And this is based on, our friend James Lipton from Inside the Actor Studio. Every time he brought someone in, he would ask 7 questions. And, this is just to give our audience the opportunity to know you in a different way. Right.
Sure. Okay.
And so we're just going to, with your permission.
By the way, my team did tell me you're going to do this, and they asked me if I wanted to look at them, and I said, no, I just want to do it live.
I love it.
I did not look on purpose, just so you know. Perfect. So hopefully it comes out right, but you're going to get real information here.
I love it. I love it. And it's best that way too. So we'll just jump right into these with your permission. What is your favorite word?
Favorite word? Consistency.
Consistency.
Yeah, I mean, I'm nothing but consistent and almost to a fault. But I think it's the secret weapon for any salesperson who would agree with me on that one. If you're not consistent, if you take your foot off the pedal, I'm a big car guy, big motorcycle guy. I love F1. I have motorcycles and I like fast cars. So my analogy is always something to do with engines or tires or something. But I will tell you that, the minute you just take that 1 second, not half a second off the gas, changes your entire exponential, trajectory. And so it's important for me and important in sales.
I love it. I love it. What is your least favorite word?
Least favorite. Fine. I mean, it's in my family. Like anyone who says fine to me is a response. Hey, how you doing? I'm fine. Like I just can't stand it. Like it's just like, when you go to I go to restaurants, I always talk to the server, the bartenders, and I say, hey, how you doing today? How's everything going? I'm outgoing guy. And they're like, another day, another dollar. Just getting by. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So fine means the same thing to me. Like, pick a side. In my eyes is like, if you're not loving what you do, go find something else. Now I know there's temporary situations and, we all have to, pay the bills, but just got to be super passionate about what you're doing. And I think if you're just fine, you're settling. And I don't like people who are just settling and it's on. I would tell my daughter never be fine. Go all in.
Go all in. I love it. I love it. Okay. What's something that could make your day?
Seeing other people win. I mean, frankly, when I first started off, I was a young 21-year-old sales guy, and I'll be totally direct. All I cared about was being successful, making money, and I didn't come from money. My dad died when I was really young. My mom was a school teacher. I really needed to go out and, prove to myself and my family that I can help provide for them. And I didn't even have kids yet. So it's like, my point is I was all about me. And then I realized once I became a manager, that I needed to have it be all about others. And a mentor of mine, I think it was Zig Ziglar, said, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll have everything you want.
That's right.
And that to me is really my motivation. Now, again, psychologically, like, does that mean like you're still thinking only about yourself because you're helping other people so you can get what you? I don't know, but I do know this is that to me, when I see other people succeed, like our COO, she was an account executive, she became a director of growth, she became a vice president, and now she's the COO of the company. And I just love seeing those types of stories.
Yeah, it's just awesome. It's just awesome. And that's exactly right. And that's a testimony to your character, is because what really drives you is seeing the success of others. And that's just a great trait to have. There's not many left, Gabe. I just don't know why, but
there's you. So you see,
you're very kind.
You and I are wired very similar, I think, in that regard.
You're very kind. You're very kind. All right. What's something that could ruin your day?
Ooh, ruin my day. That's a hard one because I'm overly optimistic.
I couldn't tell, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, being caught off guard, which doesn't happen a lot because, I try to set my life around it not happening because I don't like it. But getting caught off guard or being surprised, and not seeing it coming, usually throws me for a little bit of a loop. And I really, really try to do like a postmortem and reflect. So anytime like I didn't see that thing coming at all, I get the people around me who's in charge of that situation or thing, and we learn from it so we can never have that happen again. So things happen. I lose clients, things, occur, people resign, situations happen. And, I just want to say, okay, how do we fix that? So not so we can fix that scenario, but how can we make sure that doesn't ever happen again? And let's figure that out so we can plan for it in the future. I think that being caught off guard such scenario definitely is something that is important to not have happen.
That's right. That's right. Okay, good. What's a noise or sound that you love?
Well, it's not my daughter's saxophone right now. She's 10 years old and she's learning the saxophone. I don't know if you have ever had a family member try to figure out how to blow a horn for the first time in your house, but she's becoming significantly better. However, she's amazing at piano. She had a piano recital 2 weeks ago at the end of school, and she nailed it. So, she really is musically talented. And so I would say watching her, play music is a sound that is really, it can make any dad happy.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What's a noise or sound that you hate?
Noise or sound that I hate. Oh man, that's a hard one. I mean, someone just like being upset, like crying, like I think I'm, an emotional person when it comes to that. Like if someone's upset or just, I've had scenarios where leaders on my team, I'm looking at them on Zoom, like, are you okay? And they just literally start crying. Now you may think, well, why are they working at a company that gets them? Well, listen, we're in the people business and people disappoint others. And I've sat there and I will literally cancel every meeting next to mine and saying, hey, let's figure this out. So anyone who's upset, I just kind of gravitate to trying to fix that. I'm a fixer. So I think I gravitate to that.
That's right. That's right.
You really got me thinking on these right now.
I know. I told you.
This is real stuff, man. All right.
All right. Okay. One last one here. What profession would you have liked to attempt if it, not considering your own?
Yeah. So I was in law school. I was destined to be a lawyer, actually. So I took the LSATs. I got into law school, and I was literally on the verge of going to law school. I was going to law school.
Wow.
And the summer before, I was just second guessing a lot of that. And I actually had a mentor back then. It was my best friend's dad. He was very, very successful, serial entrepreneur. And he had a business opportunity that he put in front of me in regards to the recruitment side of the business and asked me to come on board. And I, deferred for law school for a year to pursue that.
Wow.
And it was something my mom is an educator, my aunt is an educator, thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
And I deferred for a year to pursue business and sales. And I made a lot of money in my first year doing it and haven't looked back. But at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, I probably could have done that. You know what I mean? But I liked this side of the business. At the end of the day, nothing against lawyers. Mostly it's all paperwork anyway. I'd rather, I don't like that stuff anyway. So I think I made the right decision, but it was definitely something I would have gone in that direction if I hadn't chose, that feeling of closing a deal.
That's great. That is great. That is great. Gabe, it has been so great having you on today. Let's make sure that everyone, that's listening and watching the podcast, how do they get in touch with you? How do they get in touch with one of your, business development representatives? How do they get in touch with Alleyoop? What's the best way?
Yeah, I mean, LinkedIn and website, right? So if there's anything that you need from me personally, I'm hyper responsive on LinkedIn. So connect with me there and send me a direct message and I'll definitely connect back. If you're looking for Alleyoop services or questions there, go to the website, alleyoop.io, and put in a request to connect, and our team is very quick and we'll make it happen.
That's great. Well, again, thanks for being on today. This is how we close every show. We say, keep selling and have fun doing it. Thanks, Gabe, for being on, and we'll see you very soon. Bye-bye now.
Bye, everyone.
This is the reason why you should buy. And we're not asking the most important question, the reason why it was important for them, in their heart of hearts. Like, that's a sale. Then we're going to see results, the mindset. Going into every opportunity, saying to yourself, I would love to have the business, but I don't need the business. When they talk about building their organization just through referral, that means they're missing it